Good evening and welcome back to the Global Landscapes Forum 2019 here in Luxembourg, where we're discussing breakthroughs in sustainable finance. My name is Natasha Elkington and I've been your host for the day. And as we come to the closing, I have the pleasure of speaking with Lucy Mortimer from the Archipelago Eco Investors, and who's just been announced to be part of the ICFA cohort. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So please tell us more about your fund.
So we are raising a fund, Plastics Fund 1. It's a blended finance, so public and private fund, that seeks to make equity investments into new and novel technologies that can either avoid plastic becoming a waste in the first place, or can take waste plastic and process it and recover value from it in a way which isn't currently done.
Okay, very interesting. So I guess that's your investment focus, right?
Plastics is very much our core focus. We're a tightly focused fund. We'll be investing in what we call upstream and downstream, to borrow from oil and gas terminology. What that means is we'll be avoiding in ways in which you can avoid producing plastics within your supply chain. So it might be reverse logistics, for example, or it might be alternatives to plastics. And then the other part of the solution is looking at how you recycle, not as a mechanical recycling process, but in novel methods which can take much greater value from plastics we produce now. At the moment, we produce about 300 million tons of plastic every year. Wow. It looks like by 2050, we'll be producing close to 1 billion tons of plastic. Wow. And that plastic needs to be treated. Not only that, it has a huge CO2 impact. So the amount of plastic we produce now is about 1.8 billion tons of carbon worth. Wow. By 2050, we'll be emitting 6 billion tons of CO2 into the atmosphere just from plastics alone. And to give you an idea of the quantum, that's between 15 and 20% of the carbon budget in a 2-degree scenario.
Oh. Insane. I didn't know any of that about plastic.
Huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
And most people don't know how impactful in terms of climate that plastic can be. It's an amazing product in that if you ship a bottle of water, it has a half of the carbon footprint than if you were to ship that same water in an aluminium can. But it's what happens to that plastic bottle at the end of its life. At the moment it becomes a waste, it becomes marine litter, it becomes litter in the natural landscape. What we're seeking to do is give it a different value so that it does get collected, whether it's through formal or informal infrastructure, and it gets treated to bring it back into the circular economy. The fund is focused on new technologies first in Northwest Europe, but that's partly because we believe those technologies that are needed for Southeast Asia don't exist yet. So we are aiming to bring on technologies in Northwest Europe and the UK in order to scale up in Southeast Asia, where there's a real urgency to address the plastics problem.
Well, very interesting. Actually, in the last GLF in Accra, I spoke to this young man called John Marie Kavumo, who's from Uganda, but he's using plastic bottles to build houses and fencing, and I was like quite amazed at what he's doing, and amazing structures, and I mean that I guess is also another way.
It is. Now, and that's a project-specific way, and it's absolutely necessary to have those too. What we are trying to do, though, is systematically change the plastics landscape. And that means that we have to back technologies that can be scaled in a modular way so that we can put small units in dispersed places in Africa, in Southeast Asia, and they don't need to have a huge quantity of plastic taken to them to be economically viable.
It's very, very interesting. So, yeah, I guess that's all the questions I have. But congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the information. I've learned quite a bit from this interview. And yeah, and have a lovely rest of the evening.
Thank you,
Lucy. Thank you.